I just wanted to be able to deal with the most important organ of the body, which was my brain, and being able to win and negotiating that was going on inside my head. And I knew if I was able to conquer that for those 10 weeks and take care of business during that process, the race was going to throw me some BS. The race was going to give me some obstacles. The race was going to give me some challenges. And the more I tapped into being able to challenge myself before I got to the race, I already won the race before I got to the race. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I came in that race victorious because my mindset and how I was thinking.
Welcome to the Eat Cypher. Flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson. The hook miss with the liking. Show nothing, Mr. Bison. Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans. Goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
Hey, so welcome back for another episode of the L.I.T Code. I'm Edgar Jones.
I'm Cortney Anderson.
We're back at it again. Thank y'all so much for being here at this present moment in time with us, checking us out, listening to us, and being willing to continue to work on yourself. As always, it's a pleasure to be able to connect with y'all. As always, thank y'all for the support. Thank you for the likes, the subscribing, and passing all this information along. Like we always say, this wouldn't be possible without y'all. So thank y'all for the support again.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all a ton for the support, for all the likes, all the views. Like I always say, man, if you viewed it 5 minutes or you stuck with us through the whole hour and some change, man, we appreciate y'all the same. Just keep evolving with us because we are evolving. I always say we use this for therapy for ourselves, man. This is just two guys talking, kind of navigating, becoming adults and being men and fathers. And we're just, we always say we're not experts at anything but what Cortney and Edgar do. You know what I'm saying? So we just sharing with you our thought processes and the way we deal with life as it comes to us, man. And again, just thank y'all for being a part of it and allowing us to share that with y'all, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hey, and also too, I know we talked about this last week. Just continue to send us that feedback. We would love to hear how this has had an impact on you, and what we've said, how you've been able to take it and apply it to your life. So that's something we always look forward to hearing. So, Court, man, it's a busy weekend. Obviously, we're recording right now. It's Sunday night, but first of all, man, how you doing, brother? Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, you know me, batting 1,000 as always. I'm on top of the dirt. Family good. We ate. We wanted to eat today. Sat in the house and lounged around. We ain't have no worries, so yeah. I'm great. So I'm great. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm recovering a little bit. I put my body through some a series of different obstacles. We'll dive into that in a little bit. Man, you said something earlier that, you know, this is therapeutic for us to be able to talk and being able to have our conversations and talk about life and talk from a place of our experiences and our mistakes and the things that we've done well in life. But I think it's interesting. The more we keep having these conversations, the more we continue to learn.
Yeah.
You know, just out of maybe talking about one topic, how out of that one topic, 5 other things start to come up and it starts to spark other interesting conversations. And I think that's the important thing that the viewers and the people that's listening to this, just being able to have a tribe surrounded around you, or another person where you can start to have just, I call them rabbit hole conversations. And out of those conversations, you'll be surprised what starts to reveal itself and come up to the top.
Yeah, man. The main thing about that, man, is making sure your tribe is a tribe of like-minded individuals, right? Because you know, like I know, it's certain stuff that comes across my mind to where it's probably only 1 or 2 more people in the world, I feel like, that'll be able to understand it the way I'm understanding at the time. Most of the time, that's you or my father. Like, I hit y'all up. You do the same to me. Like, hey man, I knew I couldn't call and tell this to nobody else. You know what I'm saying? And you want to make sure you got your toolbox filled with the right tools, right? And they can be people too. Because I mentioned before in an earlier episode, you know, if I was having a problem at the house and I needed something fixed on, I need to fix some cabinets, put down some flooring or whatever, I call my father. If I needed to lay some cement down, I call your father. I was cooking something, I call your mother. If I needed some therapeutic talk, I'm gonna call you or I'm gonna call Aja and talk to her. So yeah, man, just making sure that tribe is the right tribe, and you knowing who your people are in the tribe and who you can call on for what, man. That's a real big thing that you should have in your arsenal, because it can help you along the way.
It can help you along the way. It can. That's important. The tribe is really important.
Yeah.
That tribe is important. And also at times, you're gonna have to do some talking to yourself as well.
Oh yeah.
And some navigating through whatever it is you're trying to navigate through and get through. And ladies and gentlemen, that's from personal experience. Like, I mean, it is from personal experience, man. So yeah.
So you had a pretty big event this weekend on yesterday, which we've alluded to it in previous episodes, but Edgar decided, a month and a half or so ago, I guess.
About 10 weeks.
10 weeks ago. So he decided that he was going to embark upon the journey of running a half marathon, right? And for those of you who don't know, a marathon is 26.2 miles. So the half would be the 13.1. When he first told me about it, y'all know I'm the nerd, so I wanted to dive down into what a marathon was and where it came from, where did the idea of a marathon come from, right? And I'm also a history buff. So legend has it that a Greek messenger had to run from a spot that was actually called Marathon to Athens to give news of the Greeks having a big win against some invading Persians during the war. You know, we love the movie 300. We remember Xerxes, the Persians, coming in to fight, and Leonidas and his 300 meeting them off at the path. And then the one guy that got cut across the eye was the messenger who got sent back to tell the story. It's kind of like that same concept, right? So this guy runs from Marathon to Athens, which is 25 miles away. And he gives news of the victory. And then right after he tells the news, he falls out and dies. And so to commemorate him in 1896, the Olympics started to have what they called marathon races. And it was set at 25 miles per hour at the time. And later on, when the Olympic Games were held in Britain, Queen Alexandra wanted this race to start on her lawn because she had a few small children. So she wanted them to be able to watch the start of the race from their nursery. And the distance from the lawn to where they were going ended up being 26.2 miles. That's where it was adopted. And that's how it came about. So I just wanted to give y'all a little, I dove down my nerd hole right there. But that's how it all came about. So one thing I do know about marathons over here, it's done a lot for charity, right? People do marathons and half marathons for different charity events. And when you're doing it for charity, winning the race or coming in first, that's not really the goal, right? The goal is to finish, right? To set your pace, run your race, and finish. And so from us talking about it earlier, I didn't talk to you yesterday on purpose. I gave you a message the night before, told you to practice what you preach, right? That was the message. Hey, like and practice what you preach. Because this is what we talk about, this kind of stuff, knowing that you were going to go in and have to kind of meet all the obstacles that we always talk about, right? Because you've been preparing for it. So your preparation is going to take you so far physically. But then once that started to fail, now we got to tap into something mentally to go ahead and finish, right? Your physical attributes took you half the way, and your mental attributes have to take you the other way. So when we talked this morning, you said some interesting things to me that correlate right back to life, right? You said when you started out, it was crowded, right? Everybody was there together, right? And then as you went on a little bit, you started to see the separation. You started to see some people pull ahead, some people fall back, right? So now it's not as crowded no more. And then you get all the way in and you realize at this point you look around and it's literally nobody but you, right?
Nobody.
Then you notice that you started to pass some people that shot out way ahead of you. And you notice some people that you took off in front of started to pass you, right? In life, we do the same thing. It starts out, I'm gonna start this business, and everybody's all in with you at first, right? And part of the way in, you start to see certain people kind of fall off, so separate a little bit. Halfway in, you might be all by yourself, right? just you. You pick up some along the way. You see some people that started out in the same business, they'll pass you. You'll pass some of them, you know what I'm saying? And then you'll get to the point to where you got to where you were physically exhausted, right? You told me you looked down and you saw your skin turning white, knowing your potassium and salt left your body and your carbs left. And now your body's saying, hey, Edgar, hey, bro, hey, man, we done a lot.
Right now, we can stop this. Why the hell are we here? You can stop.
Exactly. Yeah. In life, hey, man, you start running out of money. Customers ain't quite coming like they ought to. You done exhausted all avenues. Everything in it telling you to quit, right? In that business you started, hey, man, I got to give up here. But what you going to do? You going to stop there? You going to push on through? You know what I'm saying? Because toward the end, I'm skipping some steps here, but towards the end, when you could actually see that finish line up there, you start to get a boost of adrenaline that's going to carry you the rest of the way. And a lot of times you would have quit. It could have been right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Nipsey Hussle, by the way, because he made it cool to talk about the marathon, right? That was his dying slogan, really, was life is a marathon, right? So we just dove down a bunch of concepts that could tie into life, tie back into life from a marathon or a half marathon like you ran. I won't steal all the juice, but that's what we're gonna dive into today, man. And I'm gonna pass it back to Mr. Jones. Let him tell you about his experience, because Big C ain't ran no marathon, no half marathon either, but he did. So I'm gonna toss it back over to him, man.
You're gonna do something soon, bro, to challenge yourself.
Oh yeah,
I'm expecting. I know you will. So we're
gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that later in the episode. We all end up running marathons damn near every day, if you really think about it. If you're aware of it, you're doing something to challenge yourself. It's something that you got to keep going at, you know, whether it's like we talked about before, I'm gonna stop drinking, I'm gonna stop doing this, I'm gonna stop doing that. That's all a journey, and it ain't no sprint to it either. You know what I'm saying? It's a long journey. It's a marathon. Reaching financial goals or whatever it is. We're all actually in marathons, not even knowing it. So I think after he dives down what he needs to dive down into today, and we go back and forth and joust with it, I think we'll have a better understanding to give viewers a better understanding of what life's marathon really is.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, for passing it along to me, and well said on everything you said. And you doggone for sure just gave me a history lesson. I did not know that about how that word marathon came from. So, you know, now I think I'm at a place in life where I start to ask a lot of questions of why.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm talking to people and they say something, I'm like, so why? Or why did you do this? Or why did you say this? And asking myself that question as well. And sometimes it gets me in trouble. Um, but for the ones that don't know, I played in the NFL for 7 years and I retired in 2015.
Mhm.
Um, and that life right there brought a lot of challenges, a lot of stressful situations, um, and pretty much being having to be able to perform to your peak level every single day.
Yeah.
I think an analogy I gave somebody a while back ago was, imagine going to your job and you mess up and you do something wrong. Um, and maybe you didn't make one mistake that day, you made two or three mistakes. And then imagine going into your job, the next day, you go into the lobby and right in the lobby, they got three other people they probably interviewing for your job right there. And those people can do the same thing that you do, or if not better. That was my world. Like the room for error was so small that, for me being a guy that was undrafted, my signing bonus was $500, literally $500. So the room for error for me was so small, and having to perform at a high level every single day. So my point with that is when I got out of the ball, um, I didn't miss that stress like that. I didn't miss them challenges, man. I
Yeah.
just wanted to chill. I just want as much as I can to be in a place where I didn't have those challenges around me, because it consumed and took so much out of me. Um, and I think at times I probably didn't handle it the best way. But um, I knew that this path that we were starting on with the L.I.T Code, the truck talks, um, there was a fear of me putting truck talks out. There was a fear of me doing the L.I.T Code, and we had a conversation about it,
Mhm.
because I knew once I put that out, this was no longer me talking about. I had to live it. You know what I'm saying? And not living when people were looking at me on the camera, or people looking at me when I'm on social media, but living it when I'm by myself. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like really living this out when I'm by myself. Um, so there was a fear of me doing all this, but I knew that one, this was bigger than me. And if I was able to tap into something that was a challenge and that was uncharted waters for me, that there'll be growth out of that. And out of that growth, I could be able to give this to somebody else and help them out by basically me putting myself through this. So for the people that have never ran a 5K or half marathon or marathon, um, a guy walking into a half marathon, 13 miles, 13.1 miles, that's 6'3", 260 pounds, that's not the norm. that ain't the ideal body frame that walks inside this type of event. So I already came in a situation with my back against the wall. And even yesterday on the day of the race, I remember pulling up to the actual parking lot, getting out of my truck. And I remember some of the people that was getting ready to run actually kind of looked at me. And I remember one of the guys kind of tapped his buddy on his leg, like, "Hey, check this guy out right here." I know he said that. I'm pretty sure they bet on me yesterday. Somebody probably lost some money and somebody won some money. Because I'm pretty sure somebody said, "Hey, he ain't gonna make it," because 6'3", 260 pounds. But kind of digressing for a second, when I signed up for their race, when I clicked it and said, "All right, this is what I'm about to do," that's when it set in and this was real. Um, and from that point, once I decided that the first day I was going to start the run, through that entire process from week 1 to week 10, there was constantly the doubts, and you can't do this. You're too big. You got too many injuries. You're gonna make a fool of yourself. People gonna look at you crazy. This was literally all the things that I was battling with inside of my head. But I told myself that don't try to focus on April 10th, the race. Just focus on today and whatever today and what you have to take care of. So if that was 3 miles, be focusing on taking care of 3 miles. And through that, it was just having those small victories. Um, and through having those small victories, I knew what it was going to end up doing was going to end up being a big victory to prepare me for that the big day and a big race. Um, also through my preparation, because my days I ran Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Um, and also something else I did when I was running is that I never ran with any music. My 3 mile days, my 7 mile days, my 10 mile was I didn't want to be motivated. I didn't want Eminem. I didn't want Young Jeezy Trap or Die going. I didn't want to hear none of that. I just wanted to be able to deal with the most important organ of the body, which was my brain, and being able to win and negotiating that was going on inside my head. And I knew if I was able to conquer that for those 10 weeks and take care of business during that process, the race was going to throw me some BS. The race was going to give me some obstacles. The race was going to give me some challenges. And the more I tapped into being able to challenge myself before I got to the race, I already won the race before I got to the race. You get what I'm saying? Like I came in that race victorious because my mindset and how I was thinking. So that's just kind of the startup of a kind of the startup of what I was thinking and what I was battling with and what that looked like. But there was days that I didn't feel like doing it because when I started running on January 23rd. And remember, that's when the weather was, because I'm in Texas, so the weather was bad. There was days I had to get up and run. It was 12 degrees outside. That ain't like you said earlier, right, Court? That's when the brain's like, yo, why are we doing this? Yeah. You ain't got to do this. Who looking at you? You an idiot. Yeah. You're a damn moron, bro. Why would you do this? You crazy. But I said, you know what? Ain't nobody watching, man. Like, and it ain't for me to try to prove to nobody. It's about me just proving to myself that I'm willing to go into something and tap into something that I know that's going to be uncomfortable, but there's going to be growth that's going to come out of it. Yeah. And like I said earlier, the whole thing was I just got to practice what I preach, man. Just really living it out. We talk about it, but really truly living this out. And there was days where I probably struggled, but being consistent and having the perseverance to just keep pushing myself.
Yeah. We talk about adversity all the time, right? And if you ever want to spark growth in your life, you feel like you're stagnant and you want to grow. So one thing you can do to definitely make you grow, and that's to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation or to use adversity in a positive way. It's like you did. Hey, I'm gonna run this marathon, right? I'm gonna challenge myself. And we do it all the time. And like I said, it don't have to be a marathon. It could be starting a diet or, again, saving a certain amount of money. You set a goal that you know is attainable, right? And then you work towards that goal. Working toward is you were working towards by preparing, right? By getting up running the 8 miles every day and going through these courses that you didn't necessarily like, running it without music. You were making yourself uncomfortable, right? On purpose in order to attain that goal that you set for yourself. And it's an attainable goal, right? Because you said, I'm gonna do a half marathon, right? You could have set yourself up and said, I'm gonna do a full one, never done a half one before, and then got through it and failed and got down on yourself, right? Because like I said in the previous episode, right, we don't really need help being negative because it naturally occurs as soon as we think a positive thought. As soon as you thought, I'm gonna run a half marathon, it was automatically the other thought was because you can't run a half marathon. You ain't never done that before. How you gonna do it now, right? So it's always a battle. It's kind of like picking a fight with your negative side, right? When you put yourself in a position like that, you're picking a fight with him. So he gonna show up. He like, you gonna set a goal, eat him. You know what I'm saying?
Who's this morning?
Yeah. You're gonna set you a goal, huh? Man, we can't do this, right? And then it's not just the negative side, the ego side will kick in. Like, hey man, I'm Edgar Jones. Who really gonna say something to me if I don't finish a marathon, right? Because I ain't got to do this. Still gonna be me. Still liking if I don't finish this, but it's something Edgar wanted to do. So your biggest opponent, I say that all the time. It's like that last boss on a video game. Your biggest opponent is you. He gonna be there. It's hard to beat him. The licks you can hit other people with and take their energy with, you hit him with it, only take a little bit out of his power bar because he know all your moves, you know what I'm saying? He's the one that built you really because you always trying to prove him wrong. So putting yourself through that adversity, man, just to see what else you're gonna learn, what's next, how I'm gonna grow through it. That's big. And halfway into it, right? you really got to fight them off because now it's preparation out the window, right? Now, all this stuff you train for is gone, because your body does have a limit. Your mind don't, but your body does, right? Goggins talks about it all the time. Can you push yourself past failure? Because your body will give up on you. It's gonna give out. It's only naturally
and he
made
gave up,
to,
bro.
yeah.
It gave up.
It's only naturally made to go so far. So when you get past that, now what you got, right? Now you got to practice what you preach for real. Because can we tap into this mental side that can actually make your brain and your hormones produce enough for your body to keep on going, right?
Yeah.
Because medically, if you had somebody out there with you with a monitor hooked up to you, at some point in there, it was medically impossible for you to be able to keep on, right? But if you can tap into the mind, that's why I like monks so much. You can tap into the mind, you can make the body, you can make it, you can will it. Your brain can produce what it needs to make it go ahead and finish. That's how the ancient Greek messenger, that's how he got there to tell his message. And then what he do right after that? He died. He fell dead on the floor. So he's running on something else, right? He knew, all right, man, these people sit up here and beat the Persians. The Persians were undefeated at the time. If I can get this message back, right, bring this message of hope back to everybody, then we could probably win this thing. That's all he was fixated on, right? All you was fixated on was telling Edgar, hey, man, we got to finish this. We started, we're going to finish it. That's what got you through. Well, nothing to do with that 260 pounds of muscle. Wasn't worth a damn. It wasn't nothing. It was scrambled eggs at that point. You know what I'm saying? So talk about that part, man. Talk about the point where the body did fail.
Yeah, because the body fell. The body, right when I got to mile 9.5, I started feeling like my left quad started cramping. I started feeling my hammies getting tight. I started feeling my muscles starting to tighten up. Now, the night before, like I did a good job of hydrating. I drank a lot of water. I loaded up on my pastas, got good sleep. I did everything I needed to do to make sure that when I went into the race, I had the proper fuel that I needed. But I had one good boy point this out to me. He said, dude, you're 260, so your body just required a lot more minerals than a normal person. So when I got to that place of I could start seeing the white crystals on my skin, which told me that my salt I was all pretty much depleted of nutrients. It was challenging. It was uncomfortable for me, but mentally, I think I'd already been in a place of pushing myself, going back to my preparation. Now, I never during my preparation, my training got to a place where I was that depleted. But I think due to me not ever listening to music, the days it was like 12 degrees and I had to run, it's freaking cold, the wind blowing 10 miles, I put my body somewhat already in somewhat type of misery that when I got to that point yesterday, when I was like completely depleted, I was just like, it's just another level of adversity you just gonna get past. You know what I'm saying? And at that moment, that's when the negotiating came to me making a decision and move and continue to move forward. And that was also a very challenging time as well because I was by myself. I was by myself. There was nobody else around me. I think the closest person to me was probably about a mile and a half up, and I couldn't even see the person behind me. So now there's nobody watching. And here's the thing about that half marathon. At that moment, um, at any moment of that race, um, I could have cut across the trail. I could have just stopped and turned back around, and nobody would have knew it because the race that we ran is, we had to start at my house, not at my house actually, but I'm just giving y'all an example. You had to start at my house. You had to run pretty much 12 miles out. I'm sorry, 13.1 miles out. I'm sorry, 6.7 miles out or whatever. And then you had to turn back around and come back to the house. So psychologically, right, like where I started up is where I finished at. So the challenge wasn't so much of going out. It was knowing that I had to go back through that again. I had to go back through that again to get to where I wanted to get to and get to my goal and get to the finish line. And I think the crazy thing about it is that, like I said, you had to go out and come back around. Man, I could have got to 4 miles and just turned back around. Nobody would have knew about it. I would have knew about it. But I couldn't. And honestly, the crazy thing about it, I actually thought about it for a second. I was like, I could just turn back around. I can cut this race down by 20 minutes when nobody know about it. But I mean, truly, at the end of the day, who is that? Am I really being truthful with myself? So that point where I got to where I was mentally and physically exhausted was getting close towards the end of the race. But I knew I was close. I knew I was close. And it's funny because when I look on life and I look at some things, some great things I have accomplished, um, it wasn't until I had to suffer in some type of form that I finally got and achieved what I needed to achieve and whatever the goal was. When I was in college, I hurt my ankle. I had a high ankle sprain. It was my senior year. You know about this. Had the high ankle sprain. It was going into my senior game. So I didn't get a chance to play my senior game. So I thought my career was over and I wasn't going to get a chance to make it to the next level. So I had to do all the therapy to try to get myself back to my normal playing. And then once I got to the normal playing place, I went to this All-Star game and I went to the All-Star game and had the 3 sacks and got defensive MVP of the game and got MVP of the game. But it wouldn't, before I got to that, I had to suffer and had a high ankle sprain. Yesterday at that race, like when I got to the peak of suffering, that's when I was like a mile away from the finish line or like a mile and a half away from the finish line, but kind of digressing for a second. What was interesting to me was the beginning of the race. Like, and this is probably about, I would say, a good couple hundred people. And everybody's smiling, man. They got their shades on. It's 62 degrees, nice spring weather. The birds are chirping. The blue jays chasing each other. You got old blue bird chasing old crow. A crow always running from a bluebird. He old cow anyway. Yeah. Mockingbird, old cow, man. But the birds flying, the sun out. Everybody got their bright colors on, and and I'm pretty sure they got the energy drinks, and they feeling good. And a lot of times in life, man, it's like that. You get ready to start something, dude, and you get ready to go into something. You got all these people around you, and everybody's patting you on the back and smiling and laughing, and everybody's feeling good about the situation. Say you starting a company up and you got your employees, and everybody's excited about the moment. But it wasn't until we got into about 3 miles, you start to see the separation. You start to see people separate from each other. And then you can start to tell that people were starting to, their whole body mechanics change as we started to put more miles on in the race. You can start to tell that they were starting to get into some real negotiating and reevaluating their life as they got in the race. And I think that's no different from life in itself, right? Like, it's all good at the beginning, but when you get into about the middle of it and whatever that middle is, that's when you start to see the separation of the pack. you know,
Yeah.
and those are truly some redefining moments that's going on in our life that I think sometimes we need to kind of pull back and examine. And for the people that's listening, think about times you done did something, man, and it started off well and everything was good, and you got into the middle of it and it sucked. It was hard. That shit was challenging, man, but you still push past it. I think sometimes we overlook that and tend to forget about that because we're such a move on to the next thing society. And when I saw that in that race of that 3 mile and a half mile where people started to separate, that's when it was just me against me. Like I was like, all right, this is Edgar against Edgar. You know what I'm saying? But in the midst of me thinking about that, the next thing I was thinking was, all right, what's your preparation look like? I was literally saying it to myself, hey, you've been preparing yourself. Hey, you've been training honestly. Hey, you've been honest with yourself with your training. Hey, you've been doing right in nutrition. And it was just yes, yes, and yes. Now, the other side was like, shit, you still can't do it. You ain't gonna finish this. You know what I'm saying? Like he never went away. The other side of me never went away.
You don't.
I don't. I just had to accept it for what it was at that moment and continue to keep um, switching my train of thought to ask myself the questions and get to, all right, you have done what you need to be doing. You have been taking care of business. Another interesting part of that race is I used to do this, man. I used to say this, man, I can do it all by myself. I'm good. I can do it by myself. I can do it by myself. And rightfully so, I think there's times I have had to do things by myself and take care of business by myself. Predominantly, I look back on training, right? A lot of times I just had to train by myself. But also too, I understand the importance of having a tribe or having a person around you that can just tap you on your shoulder and say, hey man, you got this. You can do this. It's needed. We talked about this a while back ago, dude, with mammals. You know, if you leave a mammal alone, it'll die. You can have a reptile go off by itself, a snake, and he'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, a mammal, like we need community. So my point with that is during that race, the times I was by myself was okay because I knew I had been by myself in my preparation, my training. Then there was also moments in that race where I had people that came out and supported me. I had people that called me before the race. I had some people that was actually sitting at mile markers. And as I was coming up to mile 6, I can hear them screaming my name, like, hey man, you got this, you can do this. Like that was needed, man. That was needed so much. Because even with me being tough and me playing at the pinnacle, highest level in sports, NFL, at that moment, when I was running that, man, I needed that. I needed for somebody to tell me, dude, I got this. And I think that's something I want people to know is that um, there will be times you're gonna have to push yourself and you have to deal with it by yourself. And I think through being able to do that, it will continue to show you how much you have and what God has instilled inside of you and how much He's truly has given you. Um, but I also think we also need to understand the importance of having that person on your passenger side that can just tap you and say, hey, man, you got this, you can do this. So that was those were some of the things I took. I know you probably got some questions, but those were some of the things I took from it.
Yeah, man. We always as men we're prideful, right? So we want to be the ones to go out and do certain things, and we want to do it on our own. We want to do it without much help, and that's not even something that we're taught. That's something we got with us since we're babies. My son right now, once he sees me do something, he think he can do it. He don't want my help. Like, I got it, Dad. Let me do it. Let me try. That's human nature. You want to be independent, right? Even though we're needy, we're some of the most needy mammals there are, because most mammals hit the ground running, right? If you see a horse being born, the first few hours it's going to be up walking and running, and in the first year or two, it's going to be totally independent, right? And can do whatever it needs to do on its own. Well, it takes us Yeah, we don't get totally independent till sometimes we damn near 30. Sometimes we still not totally independent, we still depend on others, right? I think it's extremely important to be able to do things on your own, to do like we say, get one-on-one with self, be able to meditate with self. But it's also extremely important to even indirectly have somebody cheering you on, right? Or to know I'm doing this for somebody else, right? When Amaya was born, there was an extra push for you, right? She wasn't always there, right? But I'm sure you had a picture in your locker or something to where when you needed to tap in right before the game, she was one of the main focuses. Like, okay, this is who I'm doing this for, right? So even if they're not there cheering you on, we're always doing something. Especially as humans, especially when you become a parent, or even when you're not a parent, you want to make one of your parents proud or somebody proud. You're always doing it not just for you, but it's somebody else you got in mind, right? I need to get my mom out this situation. I need to get my little brother out the situation he in. This is why I got to push. Yeah. Because certain days, I said it before in the early episode, I ain't a morning person at all. Certain days I got to get up 5:30 and head out that door. If it was just Cortney, and Cortney was the only person I had to do it for, it probably wouldn't happen as often. But see, the woman laying beside me and the kids sleeping in the rooms across the hall, right? I got to get up and go do it for them, right? And in my mind, they're cheering me on indirectly. They might not be there, but I can tap into it and say when I'm saying to myself, man, you know what? I got enough. I ain't got enough, because one day their kids gonna need to eat off whatever I'm doing now. So I'm saying, so having that tribe is very important. The fact that you had them, though, again, when you were running on fumes, everything had left you physically, right? You already negotiated mentally, and maybe he was about to win at one point, and then you heard your name. Come on, Edgar, you got this. I happened to see the video L.I.T posted, your wife posted on her Facebook, right? I'm hearing the people, you got this, Edgar, you got this, right? And you know what the most interesting thing is? Both of us, we lift weights, right? Some people can walk in sometimes and see you with a certain amount on their bench, and you repping it, right? Inside, it's tough, right? You pushing, you giving it all you got, right? But from the outside looking in, it looks like, because when you were running that marathon, when you passed them by running, it didn't look like you was fighting all this in your mind, right? Now somebody there might have told you your mechanics had changed, but it looked like you were okay, right? It was just Edgar jogging on by. You know what I'm saying? You're in that weight room, it's just like, man, he hitting 315 like it ain't nothing. That's you looking at it. You making it look easy, but inside, hey man, it's a fight. Like these last 2 reps, I was surprised I got them off me. You know what I'm saying? I'm really pushing here internally, right? But everybody can't see that. That's the most important thing I took from you earlier when we talked about this marathon, was the people that were passing you and the people that are around you. If you would have wasted your focus on them, worry about where they were as far as in relation to where you were, who's stopping out here, who passing out, who's doing this, who's doing that. It's no way you would have won that internal battle, right? We do it all the time in life. Man, such and such just got their new job. They bought their new house. They bought their new car, right? You focusing on them. You might not think you focusing on, but you are. You taking time out off of yourself. What you ought to be focusing on, focus on everybody else. And you mentioned in the last episode, what you'll do is you'll discourage yourself, because you'll start asking yourself, well, what the hell am I doing, right? Why I hadn't got here yet? If you would have looked up and saw somebody that you know you were beating early and they passed you, right, and you were fixated on winning instead of finishing, then you would have sped up out of your pace, right? Yeah. And you're already running on fumes, right? The body already trying to give up. You get out of pace. Now you can't finish because you was trying to run their race, because you was focused on the race they was running, right? I want y'all to take that away. If y'all don't take nothing else, that you gotta focus on your race, right? Doing stuff at your pace. If it's meant to happen, if God or the universe has it in store for you, it ain't nothing in the world that's gonna stop it. But you the only thing that can stop it, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ways you can stop that is by trying to jump into somebody else's body, which is impossible, and run their race, right? Because certain stuff gonna happen. They got a whole nother end game in mind. And you jumping in trying to run it. You don't know why they running so fast right now. They might have sped up and passed you because they were walking behind you. They might have stopped and took a water break, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sat down for 10 minutes. And now they can sprint through it. You don't know, right?
You don't know, man.
We got it bad about outside looking in. You can't do that in life, man. So you can't do that in your marathon. The other thing you mentioned was we talked about this earlier, was finishing where you started. All right, you ran down halfway and you headed right back to where you started from. And I like to liken it to life cycle, man. If you see an elderly person that lives to be 112 years old, right? Most of the time, people are taking care of them again, kind of helping them, assisting them. Same way when we were babies, right? That's because they've run a full race, right?
Yeah.
They started out, people taking care of them, pushing them along, nursing them, right? They got independent. They lived this full life. They ran, hit their prime, and then right after the prime, they started to digress. But they knew the end was coming, but they never stopped. They had to keep on running, right? Even though it's coming, and they about to come back to exactly where they started at, same position they came in. Some people like to say that we come from our mothers, we return to Mother Earth, right? When we buried in the ground, or when we cremated, and our ashes are spread across lakes, or fumed into the air, we're going back into our mother again, right? So that's life cycle. This marathon thing, man, is way bigger than I ever thought it was. I used to just say, man, look at these fools running this far. I'm a big boy. I used to tell people I'm built for comfort and speed in short bursts.
That's it. That's all my
not
world
long
revolved
distance.
around, man.
Yeah, man. We're not long distance runners. But if you really look at the concept of it, it's life, bro. So
it's go ahead.
I'm happy. I was gonna say I'm happy that you decided to embark on it, because it made me look at it in a different light. And congrats, liking. Because
appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying, for conquering it.
Appreciate it. You know, it's man, two things else, you know, I want to leave y'all with from this race. And Court, you actually just touched on this earlier. You said that, you know, you saw that video, you could hear people cheering for me, and you could see me running. It looked like everything was okay with me when I was running. Or another example you gave, that, you know, you walk into a weight room, you see a let's say individual lifting 315, and they repping it out, and everything looks okay. And I think as a society, we have gotten trained of just looking from an external and thinking everything is okay with somebody. And for the person that may be actually battling and dealing with something, I think it takes courage and it takes a lot of strength to be able to open up your mouth and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. And I've always said this. I think when you share your story, anything you do in life, if you've accomplished anything, you need to start with the challenges and adversity and what you dealt with. Because if you don't, and you talk about the peaches and the creams and how everything is, I did this and I got this and I made this, sometimes it can be intimidating people. So people look at you and be like, you know, or look at me and be like, hey man, this guy don't suffer. This guy ain't going through nothing. This guy ain't battling through nothing. And you see it all the time, right? You see celebrities that die or pass or commit suicide. And from an outside looking in, everything looked okay. You know what I'm saying? But you never knew about internally what they was battling with. And for me in that race, that race was so much bigger than me. It was an important pinnacle for me in my life. Another one of my big accomplishments, but it was also bigger than me because I knew that that there was going to be a story out of this that I could be able to share with somebody else. Um, and what that was, man, I was struggling. I was hurting. And I think when you're able to tell people that, and it takes courage to do it, but when you're able to be vulnerable and open about what you're battling with, you'll give people courage to say, you know what, I can do this. Or dang, I thought I was the only one that was dealing with this. I thought I was the only one that was battling with this. And a lot of times that individual may not even say anything to you, but they've taken what you've said, and now it gives them strength and courage to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
You know, but now with everything we do, it's so much of the glitz and the glamour, and that ain't real, man. You know, real is you feeling like quitting. Real is like this shit sucks, man. I'm tired, man. I want to give up. I just want to give up on my life. I want to give up on everything around me. Like, and there's nobody that's exempt from that. There's nobody that's exempt from that. Those type of things that we've said or things we've talked about, and those challenges that we some face on a day-to-day basis, some face on an hour-to-hour basis, is very real for every single person. Um, Share the story. You know, share the story about what you challenge, what you've been through, and what you've had to overcome. And I think true strength comes from sharing the story. True strength comes from being able to be uncomfortable and open up your mouth. Um, that's the second thing I took from this race. Another thing I took from this race. Well, to me, one of the most beautiful things about this race was people that come from all different walks of life, man. Shape, sizes, colors, race, background, and everybody was running their own race. I saw a woman out there, man. She had to be in the upper 70s. She was out there running 13 miles, man. You know, by herself. I saw her a couple times. She was just running by herself, and I'm pretty sure at the beginning you probably had people that was trying to keep track on certain people, but I guarantee probably when they got in the middle of that race, dude, it just went back to me focusing on myself and just trying to work on myself, you
Yeah.
know. Because truly the fact of the matter is at the end of the day, if I'm not trying to do the work on myself, how can I expect to give to anything else? How can I expect to pour into anything else if I'm not trying to fill myself up in some type of form or fashion? And seeing that yesterday with all these different people from different walks of life, um, you could tell people was just running their own race, man. They went in competition. Now I'm pretty sure some of those top guys was in it.
Yeah.
Um, but I personally speak for me. There was no competition with me saying that, oh, I'm going to try to outdo this guy, or I'm gonna try to like. It wasn't. It was just trying to keep beating myself and winning against myself. That was to me. That was a true competition. It's crazy because me coming from a background of my job and I got paid to beat the guy in front of me. But now, as I've gotten older, I've realized the guy in front of me is the guy inside of me. You know what I'm saying? The other guy. That's
Mhm.
the that's the competition. You know what I'm saying? That's what truly this is about being able to deal with that other Edgar, the other
Mhm.
side of me. So man, it was very rewarding. Um, I just knew me being able to do this, it was going to be able to help me to be able to help somebody else out. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And like I said, I didn't do a 5K. I've never ran like I went straight in. I was like, dude, I'm gonna do 13.1,
Mhm.
you know. But I just understood from that day I signed up to the end of that race yesterday that this was gonna be bigger than me, and there was gonna be a lot of things I could be able to take from this and give it to somebody else and help somebody else out.
Yeah. Yeah. That the story you're talking about, the story that you want people to share about the tough times. It's an adage. It's a saying that the darkest hour is just before dawn, right?
Hmm.
Meaning that the darkest time of night is just before day is about to break, right? And the sun's about to show up and start to make everything else lighter. You said you got to the most challenging part of that race, about a mile away from finishing. Got to share those darkest hour moments, man, because a lot of people give up in the darkest hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if the darkest hour was just before dawn, if you just kept going a little while longer, then it was right there. The day was about to break on you. You know what I'm saying? It was coming.
Yeah.
I like to say, when we set out on a path to do something, right? When we have a dream or a goal, and we put our energy towards achieving it, God or the universe sends that to you. You're on a crash course with it. It's coming to you while you coming to it, right? And if you stop, though, it stopped, right? It's still out there. But when you stop and turn around, even if it's still coming for you, you running from it at that point, right? So you might as well keep on plugging. A new saying that you probably heard me say 30 times now is stay all in, not go all in. Because like you said, at the start of that race, it was crowded. It's easy to go all in, right? You're excited. I'm about to run this 5K, baby. We here, let's go. We're gonna do it. We high five and we got our music playing. Yeah. I'm gonna whoop this 5K's ass today. Yeah. I got it. Right. And you get in and you beating on it. And then it hits you back. Right. Now you went all in. Can you stay all in after you start getting hit in the mouth? Mm-hmm. That's what separates these people who become uberly successful from people who don't quite get there. So that they stayed all in. It's always a story about that. Any big success story, it's always a point where they should have failed, or they just got fired. They just had a business that failed, and they went into something else, and they said, "Hey, I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna keep going." And sooner or later, those losses that they thought they were taking, instead of looking at them as losses, they found a way to look at them as lessons, right? They used them as foundations, building blocks, foundation instead of failure. And they kept stepping on top of it, going on up. But some people just stop that first time they get beat, right? And those people never quite make it, right? Never quite make it to the end. You also mentioned there's people from all walks of life, right?
Yeah.
A few things that it don't matter what color you are, how much money you got. It don't matter your social status, how you look, none of that. We're not exempt from life. We ain't exempt from death. We ain't exempt from struggle. That don't see no color, right? For tornado come drop down today, it ain't just gonna drop down and hit the white people's house or the blacks or the Hispanics or the Asian or whoever. It's just gonna destroy what's in its path. Yeah. It's gonna get destroyed. It ain't picking, right? Life don't pick, death don't pick. Challenges don't pick. We all got to go through that. That's void of race, religion, color, whatever you want to call it. It's void of that, right? And all of us have to tap into something in order to get through it. The strong gonna survive it. You also mentioned us looking at celebrities and thinking, oh, everything's okay. But we're in a society and a nation that's built off capitalism. So we tend to think, right? Almost everything is based on the pursuit of money. And what I can buy and how much money I put it. We victims of it right now, right? We can't not think about it, right? Because that's the nation we live in. So everything's based on this. So when you see somebody with it, you think they're okay. And man, he got it figured out, right? Our very first episode, I said, we want you to be lit mentally, right? Not physically. All this other stuff can fail, right? What's in here? Your mentality, your mindset. You hear prisoners talk about it all the time. They can break me, but they can't break my mind. They can't have what's in here. They can lock the body up, but they can't lock my mind up, right? Yeah. If you lit mentally, then when you don't have this stuff and it's not going right for you, you don't have a lot of money, or you didn't save as much as you wanted to save, right? But you lit mentally and you rich in the mental, you're going to survive. You're going to be okay. Because you're going to tell yourself, hey, man, it's just another dark hour, right? If I keep pushing, they about to break, baby. It's light right on the other side. You got to tap into that. You got to have that mentality. That's what Lit's all about. That's what we strive to get to, right? Our liking mode, turning on and off, being lit in the mental, not worried about all this other stuff, this superficial stuff. One other thing you mentioned, and I was talking earlier about your half marathon, and it was the rest points, right? There were certain points y'all had. I'm guessing to take a little rest, rehydrate.
Yeah, we had about it's probably about 5 or 6 of them.
5 or 6 of those, right? We talked about our idle moments and how we use our idle time, right? And I always mention, we had a plant manager. I used to work at Sapper in Delhi, and a plant manager. He went to Notre Dame and played fullback, and he was his name was Ron Ballman, and he had this concept up where he had a wheel of success, right? And then he had it going uphill, the wheel going uphill, and he had a very important piece on that. And I talked about it in an early episode. We had a wheel chop, right? And every time we made progress, he'd make that wheel chop move behind it, right? So we wouldn't roll back downhill. At those rest areas, right? We have them in life too. Those idle moments, we gotta chop the wheels, because I'm sure when you stopped at that rest point, you're getting rehydrated. That's when Edgar shows up. The other Edgar showed up again. Hey man, we stopped. We could just stay right here, baby.
Yeah,
going back the other way.
just
walk it on
legit.
Yeah,
There were 2 or 3 of them rest spots that, because that was probably at the halfway mark. No, I wasn't at the halfway mark. It was getting close to that about that 6.6 miles. Well, I legit could have just turned back around.
Yeah.
Like, and nobody would ever knew at all.
But you.
But me.
Yeah.
But me, you know.
And those are those points where you gotta chalk yourself. You gotta say, hey man, we ain't gonna lose ground, right? It's okay to stop sometimes, but you don't want to lose ground. I think that's extremely important. You find a way to chalk that wheel, man. Keep going up here, but we're gonna chalk this wheel right here and make sure we don't roll back. And the craziest thing about all that is even when you finally get to the top of that hill, you got to fight even harder with that other person to stay there, right? Now that you've accomplished this, it's something else you're going to want to go accomplish and go tackle, right? You got stronger through this marathon. Guess who else going to try to come even harder now?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, hey, look, all right now. Hey, I let us do a half marathon, bro. What else you want from me? What else you want us to do? We ain't got to do nothing else. We good. And Bishop's Edgar saying, nah, man, we gotta grow, man. I want to tackle something else. Yeah, nah, for what? Look, man, we played 7 years in the league, right? We retired. We ran us a half marathon. We got this going on. We training these kids to go we doing all this stuff. Why we gotta do something else, right? He gonna be even harder. But the greats, again, the Kobe's, the Jordans, Tom Brady. You know, I hate to say that every time, but Tom Brady, man, they tap into something to where they who else? What Tom Brady got to prove? What else he got left? What does he have to do? Right? He ain't got to do nothing. We're gonna say he not, but he keep pushing himself. He keep finding a way. And you better believe that the other side of Tom is a straight psycho. He probably saying all kind of stuff to himself. Like, you idiot. We got 7. Joe Montana, who? We blew him out the water. Who you really competing with now, Tom? Compete with himself, right? The greats figure out how to do that, man. So I'm going to be quiet because we record tonight and then it'll be in the morning if we keep on.
Yeah. That pretty much, sums it all up, man. It's, I'll say this, and we're going to go ahead and sign off. Man, I just want people to know that, man, don't walk around in this world and in this life feeling like you haven't been given something special. That God hadn't given you something special, or the universe, or whatever your beliefs is. For me, it's always been a God thing of knowing that was something that was placed inside of me that nobody could do the way I could do it. Nobody could be able to operate it and do it in a fashion the way I was able to deliver it. Um, and I think sometimes we kind of get down on ourselves and just say, dude, I mean, what am I doing? It's pointless. I ain't got nothing to bring to the table. But I think you need to sit back and realize that there's something that's been given to you that nobody can do it the way you can do it. And this is a man that's speaking that grew up in a small town, was not the best athlete at all. Um, was undrafted, $500 signing bonus. Was fortunate enough to play in the league for a long time, be around a lot of great people. Um, and a lot of this predicated off my mindset and just me saying that regardless on what's in front of me, regardless on what people saying, regardless on me knowing that when I walk in the room, I'm probably not at the top when it comes to the skill set, but man, my work ethic got to be on point and how I'm taking care of business. Um, and I just don't want people to go through life, man. Just realize I don't want people to go through life thinking that they don't bring anything. They have no value. That's a very lonely, it's a lonely, man. It's a life that ain't living for you to feel like you don't bring no value. We all got value, man. We all bring something. You know what I'm saying? And we all somebody's superhero. I need y'all to understand that you all somebody's superhero. And you may never know you somebody's superhero until you're dead and gone, but you are somebody's superhero, and there's somebody um, looking at you and counting on you, and looks up to you and look at you as their world. Um, so don't stop, man. Don't stop. Whatever you're thinking about doing, if you're thinking about quitting, thinking about giving up, man, understand, man, there's greatness. There's greatness inside of you, man. That's truth. That's from me and my living and my experiences. There's some things that's inside of you that if you're able to tap into it, you will be surprised on how much that will be revealed to you that will be personal growth for you, but it also be able to help somebody else out. You know what I'm saying? To truly be able to help somebody else out. And I think there's no better reward for me in my life of being able to be at a place where I know I can give somebody some words of encouragement, man, and just help them shift their life to a place that they're now being able to tap into whatever they need to tap into and being able to have the impact on a person. Um, but you know, that was the half marathon, my experience. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I know I was really looking forward to talking about this. Me and Cortney really went back and forth. We had a couple things we wanted to tee up and talk about today, but you know, we finally came to the conclusion that this was so fresh on me that I really wanted to go into talking about this because this race was bigger than me. It was big. It was a big accomplishment. I'm damn sure gonna keep that medal I got, but this race was bigger than me. But once again, we thank y'all for checking us out. We thank y'all for being here at this moment in time and listening to us, um, and taking the time to continue just to work on yourself and how are you doing it, the impact that you will have on other people.
Yeah,
But thank y'all. Appreciate it.
yeah, man. If I can leave out anything, man, when it's getting tough on you, when it ain't going your way, man, just remember it ain't a sprint. It is a marathon. It's gonna be tough times in between. It's gonna be times where you don't see nobody around but yourself. People you started with ain't there no more, right? Some people done passed you. But life is a marathon. Think about when you were in a tough time, man, and you thought, hey man, I ain't gonna never get past this. And it's almost like you blink your eyes and 5 years later you're doing so much better than you were then. And you wonder, man, then I felt so bad like I couldn't get past it, right? And now everything's going great, right? Everything's good. I got past it. I accomplished this. I accomplished that. It's because life's a marathon. It's because there wasn't no sprint to it. You probably mentally put yourself in that place trying to run somebody else's race, trying to go outside of your pace, right?
Yeah.
And you got yourself in a rut that you thought you couldn't get out of. It just ain't that bad, man. Stuff ain't it's never as bad as it seems. And that's with anything, man. You failed the test, you lost a loved one. Somebody you thought you couldn't live without, right? And now you're looking at yourself 10 years later. The memory don't fade, but you made it though. You still here, you still pushing. It's because life is a marathon, right? Certain people that you started with won't be there toward the end, right? Sometimes you're gonna have to do it by yourself. Cherish your tribe. The people in your corner that's really pulling for you, that's really pushing you on, cherish them, man. You get to your checkpoints, chalk your wheel, don't lose ground. And that's all I can leave y'all with, man. Remember, life a marathon. Don't get discouraged. When you do, just know you got a lot of race up ahead. Man, you got a lot of road left to cover. And you can always make up for that bad part of the race later on down the road, man. That's the beauty of it being a marathon, right? That spot you were tired in and you couldn't make it, and you finally see that finish line and you sprinting on through the end, man. You made up for that time you lost when you was negotiating with yourself. So, man, just try to always win that negotiation. Try to make sure you don't let yourself beat yourself. Keep on running, man. I am Cortney Anderson. This has been another episode of L.I.T Code.
And I'm Edgar Jones, man. We out.
Out.